All right, this may sound a little crazy, but if you pursue an advanced degree in business, at the end of your program, it's expected that you're going to be an expert in business. You may be dealing with industry, with other parts of academia, maybe with nonprofits, but you're expected to have some sort of business expertise, which is all about competitive advantage, organizational behavior. It may be information systems, maybe operations, maybe manufacturing, supply chain. These are all business elements. So when you pursue an advanced degree, especially one that requires a dissertation or thesis, you have to make sure, first and foremost, that your study focuses on elements of business. Even though such business elements may appear in a different context, such as healthcare industry or social services, you can't veer too far outside the realm of business. Otherwise, when you graduate and someone says, let's see what you did as your dissertation or your capstone project, something that you did to provide evidence of your expertise in business, and if it's not related to business, then it raises questions about your credibility as an expert. So you really have to think of it that way. Secondly, I want to, in this brief conversation, I want to clarify what is meant by the term case study. That term is used so loosely, and in day-to-day business, when something goes wrong, you may hear someone say, wow, this would make a good case study. When the term case study is used this way, it's really referring to a business scenario where you analyze a certain situation, you try to understand what's wrong, you perform analysis, you make recommendations, you draw conclusions. That's typical MBA school case study analysis. But that is not case study research methodology. In case study research, it is a qualitative approach. While it may use mixed methods, some mix of quantitative and qualitative is primarily a qualitative research approach. It studies a narrow context or setting. For example, one business, one branch of a bank, an operation, fast food companies in North Atlanta, something that you can group together, one instance or several instances, into a narrow case of like elements that you can define as a case. So number one, the context is narrow. Number two, it uses qualitative methods. What's very important about case study research methodology is that you use multiple sources of evidence, typically qualitative. For example, you may interview some people, record transcripts, perform qualitative data analysis. Okay, you may do a focus group to validate some of your initial interview findings. You may do open-ended surveys. You may do observations. You may study the documents produced by people, research subjects in the case. So, case study is a narrow context, it's qualitative in outlook, it uses multiple sources of qualitative evidence, and then finally, the conclusions that you draw are born of a process referred to as triangulation. Which triangulation, it sounds like three. Well, it means at least three sources of evidence and possibly more. Comparing, contrasting, synthesizing, so you can conceptualize a holistic view of the phenomena under study in that case. So a case study would not study, for example, the financial system of a country, interest rates, all of IBM, maybe a branch or an operation of IBM in a particular city, in a particular context, for example. So you also can't study, undefined constructs, like happiness or diversity or something big. You got to narrow it down, make it focused in a specific context, and understand the context. To give you an example, if you wanted to study pollution in the ocean, you may take a small sample, 100 miles offshore. And if you take enough samples at random, you can make statistical analysis and project what the entire ocean pollution may look like, or at least a broad region. That's more akin to quantitative research. But qualitative research is like studying a tide pool on the beach, just a small context where you look deeply, observe the flora and fauna. and you know everything there is to know about that tide pool, but you know little about vast regions of the ocean, just that tide pool. That's a big difference between quantitative research and qualitative, and that's the way you have to think about a case study. So to sum up, if you're pursuing a business degree, and especially an advanced one, you're expected to be an expert in business. So focus your studies and your papers and your capstones and your dissertations on business expertise. Secondly, remember that the term case study is used loosely, but case study research methodology is very specific. It's qualitative, focuses on a narrow setting, has multiple sources of qualitative evidence, a minimum of 3, and you produce your overall holistic viewpoint of the phenomena by a process referred to as triangulation. That's what has to be present before you can really call it an example of case study research methodology.